Howdy, Immortalium here. Today we'll be discussing Clannad After Story. So, first of all, just to give you a quick kind of opinion on the whole series before I go into detail, is it better than the first season? Yes. But it's not without its flaws. Now, okay, let's go into detail on them. Basically, Clannad After Story, a good way to describe it was that it's broken up in, okay, the main story of it at least, is broken up into a three-part structure, with the first part also broken up into a three-part structure. Okay, so the first act, as one can call it, it still takes place during high school, just with the little change that occurred at the very end of Clannad. I won't be specific in case you still haven't seen the first season. In that case, go see it, you know. But it's broken up into three other stories during high school that develop characters that didn't necessarily get enough development in the first season of Clannad. These being the first story dealing with Yohei Sunahara and his sister Mei, which was a great story. I won't deny that, but it was very good. Then the next one, which is my personal favourite of the three stories, is the one with Misai, who, in case you don't remember, she's the dorm mother, I think the term is. You know, she runs the place where, you know, Sunahara lives. But her story was so utterly emotional that it provoked the same reaction, genuinely the same reaction that I had at the end of Titanic. I had a lump in my throat, and it's probably as close as I'm gonna get to crying during something, much to the annoyance of a female friend who seems determined to try to find something that'll make me cry. At least from emotion. I mean, I've told her that I might cry if I'm subjected to something bad, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So that story I absolutely loved. And the next story then, which dealt with Miyazawa, in case you don't know who Miyazawa was, or can't remember, she was the one who ran the second library. And it deals with her and her brother, and to me, maybe it's just me, but I felt that story was a little weak. I don't know why. A little bit cliche, I guess. But I'm sure there were cliches in the previous story, which I absolutely loved. So I don't know. Maybe it was. It was still fine. Like, I wasn't bored or anything. It just didn't do much for me. So that was annoying. But then after that is when we get to the real meat of After Story. Because basically, without giving too much spoilers away again, what the second part of the three-act structure deals with is life after high school. And it is really, really emotional. Really, really touching. And then after that, we have the third part of the three-part structure, which is life after tragedy. Now, I don't necessarily want to say what tragedy they have to deal with, although some of you might have guessed. If you do know, don't comment on it, because that's a spoiler and it would ruin it for other people. So don't comment any spoilers if you don't mind. Thank you. Now, my favourite probably was this last arc, this last act, out of everything. Just because of the emotion that it dealt with and the, you know, character development and everything. It is a fantastic last act. Although this middle act is also fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I also love that. So basically, these last two, okay, middle act is flawless basically, but it doesn't reach the emotional height that I think that the next act does. But then, here's something that I really need to discuss. At least, I'll try not to give spoilers on this, and that is the ending. Now, when I was watching Clannad, I had come up with several theories on what the ending might be, based on various factors, you know, including the, you know, throughout this season, we're still seeing that robot in the other world with the girl, and all that jazz. And there was, you know, also other hints, and there was, you know, I had come up with several theories. None of my theories were right. Well, actually, come to think of it, one of them kind of came close, but still, like, I mean, it was still... Okay, the ending is so weird. Let me just tell you that I won't describe anything in it, but to me, if any of you have seen the ending of Evangelion, like the end of Evangelion, episode 26, it made me feel like that, actually. It kind of reminded me of that. Now, in that case, I still have no clue what went on at the end of Evangelion. Whereas with Clannad, on a second rewatching of the ending, I actually got it. I actually clicked with it. All of a sudden I realized, oh my god, this is what actually happened. And to me, it's all of a sudden it felt really satisfying. At first I was dissatisfied. I was like, what the hell? You know, you can't end it like this. And then, you know, I watched it again and all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's how it ended. And suddenly I was like, that's excellent. You know, I really love this ending. And I did. I really do, actually, still. It's hard to get your head around. So, yeah. And then, of course, you have your last 3 episodes, which, again, are kind of side stories. Basically, the main story ends at episode 22. And after that, you have your episode 23, 24, 25, that are kind of like side stories. Episode 23 is basically set a year before Tomoya meets Nagisa, and it kind of shows on how, like, even though they hadn't met per se, they still encountered each other and they still influenced each other, which is kind of nice. I mean, I liked that, although it was a bit of an odd episode in that it was kind of, you know, there were some weird moments in it. I won't be specific again on that, but there was a moment in particular that I cannot believe that Nagisa didn't break her neck. I mean, okay. Besides that, it was also good, and this actually benefited the next episode. We actually saw how Tomoya and Sunahara met Kyo. And that actually benefits the next episode, which is basically a what if again. You know, Tomoya starts dating Ryo, which is Kyo's sister, and then he kind of starts to realize that Kyo is actually into him, and that was a really emotional episode, a really excellent episode again, and I really enjoyed that one. The last episode now is basically a summary, and while it is a summary, we actually do get a little bit extra at the end, a little bit of an add-on to the ending, so that was nice. And actually, one thing that really was nice about this summary actually was it also helped me get more of the ending. I suddenly realized, you know, oh, you know, that was hinted all the way at the beginning. The very first scene of Clannad actually hinted at it. Now, I won't spoil again why, you know, why it's a hint, but if you see the ending and then look at the very beginning again, you suddenly realize, oh, you know, that it was hinted even all the way back then. So that worked. Besides that, what else can I say? The animation, I think, is even better than the first season. Particularly when I saw the summary, I kind of realized to myself, oh, you know, the second season really did improve on the animation. And then, don't get me wrong, the animation for the first season is still beautiful, but this is more beautiful, in my opinion. Besides that, what else was there? Oh, one thing I better mention. Okay. First episode of this. First episode of all of After Story is a baseball game. Practically starring everyone. And to me, it was the most silly way to start off the whole season. I mean, you know, could you have not picked a better way to start? Like, even if they had just skipped that episode, you know, and just, now, I guess it kind of showed there was a little bit of a purpose to it, but they could really have improved on it. I mean, I've started After Story, and I was thinking to myself, is this, am I going to be disappointed? Is this indicative of the quality of the rest of the series? Now, in fairness, it didn't. And that's not to say that I hated the first episode, I just thought it failed to reach, the quality set by the first season. If it was in, I don't know, some other series, I wouldn't have minded it. It could have been a filler, and it would have been a decent filler. It's better than most of the Naruto or Bleach fillers. But I thought it was a bit of an odd way to start it off, and, don't be put off by the first episode. It does get better. I can guarantee you that. Because overall, despite the negatives I've given here, overall, this is better than the first season. Better, it reaches far more heights. It does reach lows, in my opinion, that the first season did not reach. But I really do love this season. It is fantastic, it is amazing. I will be rewatching it in the future at some point, just like I do with all of my favorites. This is now one of my favorite animes. All of Clannad. And, it helps that it has an odd ending that I actually get. Because, the amount of animes where there's an odd ending that I don't get, and that can ruin the series for me, but now I actually get it, which is great. So, overall, do I recommend this? Yes, I do. And do I recommend the first season? Yes, I do. Now, Manga Entertainment are releasing the first and second season in cheaper box sets, which I was not aware of at the time when I got these. They'll be, whereas I got these for, I think it was £20 a box, which I don't regret, because basically the way I view it, because I bought it directly off of them, not from Shop Manga, but over at a con, where I bought it from their booth. Basically the way I'm looking at this is that I'm investing in more kind of romance, slice of life kind of anime. Hopefully they'll be into that. But they are releasing a box set of Clannad and Clannad After Story, where it's basically about £25 on Amazon, which is pretty good value for this series. I will say to you, £25, definitely get it. You won't regret it, unless you're not into this whole romance, slightly melodramatic kind of thing. But I highly recommend it, and GR Arcada highly recommends it. Most people highly recommend it, so get it. So, thank you. This has been Immortalium. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.